Okay, so let's kick it off. Welcome to this week's episode of the Foresting Tomorrow podcast. In the studio we have Benjamin.
I'm back.
Yeah,
Back again.
and Rasmus, and myself, Jens,
The infamous Jens Isbak.
the notorious.
Notorious.
Yeah.
J.I.
Yes. So let's begin. I actually have a bit of a follow-up. I can't remember which episode we talked about it, but a funny thing happened. I think it was maybe last weekend. I was going through Facebook. I don't know if that's funny, but but then suddenly a picture popped up, which caught my eye, and it's actually a picture taken in a small town called Tversted. And you know,
I know
place.
it.
You
I
also
know
there
it.
as well. Yes.
yeah, you've
Yeah.
also been there. It's a place where basically my mom grew up there, and my grandma used to live there a long time. So but the funny thing about this picture is I'll show you, and of course those that are listening and watching can't see this image, but I'll try to explain what it is. But first of all, I'll show you. Do you know what this is?
Those white dots on a black...
Sky?
The
Yeah.
UFO,
Yeah, it could be.
Christmas light.
yeah, it looks very nice, isn't it? Is it just lights? You know, like you have these Martins...
No. Okay, so let me just explain what it is. So
Yeah.
imagine you see a dark night sky full of stars, and then you see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 like it looks like lines.
Yeah.
So it's one big line. It
dotted
actually looks
line.
like a dashed line, a dotted line.
Yeah.
Where each of these dashes light up, and there's 8 of them. Pretty clear in the night sky. You said maybe it was a UFO?
I think that was Benjamin.
Benjamin,
UFO.
a UFO? What's your best guess?
Well, my
Oh, you
yeah, it was
asked
with the
if-
light,
if
you know,
it was, it's actually something that is
projected.
Yeah, so it's reflecting lights.
Okay, so it's something living up there in the sky, reflecting light.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do we have?
Yeah, you have some satellites, right?
We have some satellites. Yes.
Yeah, so it could be, given that it seems like they're not connected completely, so it's probably not one big satellite, so it's probably a formation of satellites.
Yeah. You're right.
8, but in that formation, it looks so nice, so it's really,
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what.
I'll explain it.
Yeah.
It's a satellite train. So it's actually newly launched Starlinks that are, going towards the end goal. So that's how it looks. So whenever Falcon 9 or some kind of rocket,
Drops them off.
yeah, then these flew closely together until they end up in their position. So what you see is actually reflecting sunlight on these satellites.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of social media posts thinking that they're UFOs.
Yeah. But it is actually a thing, because I was like, what the hell is that? And then I ran through the comments, and then some clever guy said that, this is Starlink's satellites going to the final destination, or whatever you're going to call it.
Was it Rasmus?
No, apparently not. Yeah, so, and then I went to Google just to have a second opinion, and they also confirmed it. And we talked about how big these satellites were, right?
Mm.
I have the measurements here.
Okay, they must be fairly big if you can see them.
Yeah. Do you have an idea on the dimensions, or maybe how much it weigh? Benjamin?
No idea.
Okay.
I still think it's a UFO.
It's a cover-up. The Starlink
No
story is a
one knows.
cover-up.
Yeah, no one knows.
I can't remember. The thing is that I'm pretty sure I read it in the book. And of course, they want to keep them small and keep the weight down because...
Yeah. Try to guess on the weight.
50 kilos.
Mm-hmm. Benjamin?
50 kilos.
Say 51.
51.
Yeah, you're close. No, 260.
Okay, they're that big. Okay.
Yeah, for this first generation. I think the next generation is actually around 800 kilos.
Yeah. Okay.
You want the dimensions of it?
Please.
I hear you say yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm. So it's 2.8 meters by 1.4 meters by 0.2 meters. So imagine it's like a
0.2 only.
big
Okay. Yeah.
flat box.
Yeah, it's a big flat box.
Yeah. And then with the solar panels extended, it's actually 9 meter solar panel upwards. It's to be honest, I'm not an expert in sort of the visuals of a satellite, but I think it's a quite ugly satellite, to be honest. I always see these,
Yeah, the
Symmetric
classic
ones.
asymmetric. So this is very asymmetric.
Yeah.
So it's only have solar panel in
upwards.
upwards. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Or whatever direction the sun is, I guess. I guess. Yeah. So the panel itself, the satellite panel, I guess
Yeah,
that
that
is
must be-
oriented towards
I would
the
imagine.
surface, right?
Yeah. That makes sense. And then you have that outwards like that. Okay.
Towards the sun.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Welcome to the what could it be?
The
So-
error.
Not foresting tomorrow, but something with tech. Tech tomorrow. Tech tomorrow podcast.
Yeah. Do you know? Did you anywhere see how many are there now of these Starlinks? It's more than 1,000. I'm pretty sure.
Are you sure?
No, it's. I've been hitting by this commercial spot on Spotify.
Yeah.
About a podcast talking about the most powerful man in the world, Elon Musk, with his
Most
1,000
stupid man in
satellites.
the world.
1,000 satellites.
Yeah.
More than 1,000 satellites.
Yeah,
That's
maybe.
why.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't look that up.
That's okay. You need some homework for the next episode.
So enough said on Starlinks. Let's Benjamin. You look like you want to say
No,
something.
no.
Okay, you're just amazed.
Yeah.
Why haven't you bought a Starlink yet, Benjamin? When you run around out there in the
have
forest?
I have a good question. I should. Is that with that one? Is that also for internet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
That's only for communication. You would say,
Okay.
and internet is one way of communicating.
I should buy. How do I connect it in my car?
It has an antenna, and then you just need a battery for it, I guess, or a power source, and then you just
I
put
guess
the
you
antenna
have
on
an
the
outlet in your car.
And then Elon Musk knows everything.
Yeah, but he did it. Someone
He
knows
already
everything.
does.
Yeah, someone always knows everything.
Okay, let's carry on. Let's carry on. So the first story is it's actually it's something to do with Earth, actually. So January 2025.
I guess that Earth is also the only place where we know forests exist.
Yeah.
That's a philosophical thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
So
carry on.
Let's
Sorry.
start there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So January 2025 breaks global temperature record, even during La Niña.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. So January 25 was the hottest ever recorded, despite the presence of a cooling La Niña, according to data from the Copernicus Climate Change Service (C3S), and the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration (NOAA). January 25 was the warmest January on record globally. What's especially alarming is that this is happening during a La Niña, a climate pattern that usually brings cooler global temperatures. So, do you know the threshold of the Paris Agreement?
No, I can't remember. Was it 2 degrees? I can't remember.
Yeah, I wish. No?
4.5. Is it?
What?
There was different. They put up different scenarios, right? If they reach this level, it would look like this, and
Maybe, but there's always a threshold
Yeah.
that has been
Okay.
referenced.
Which we cannot surpass. The idea is that we need to not surpass this.
Yeah, we should not do it because we'll see. We'll see climate as it is now because we have surpassed it. So it's the global average temperature was 1.75, and the threshold is 1.5 above pre-industrial levels. Yeah, so it was warmer than January 24, which was during El Nino, so should be warmer.
Yep.
And 18 out of the 19 months have exceeded the 1.5.
And was January 24 also the hottest January ever recorded?
I would assume it is.
Yeah, me too.
Because that's how it is at the moment. It's just
exactly.
Everything tops,
Yeah.
the last.
Yeah.
So Arctic sea ice was at its joint lowest January extent or record, and sea surface temperatures were the second highest on the record for January. So forests across the world had already under pressure from drought, pests, and changing rainfall patterns. That's something that we have been talking about a lot of time.
Yeah.
So record-breaking warmth, especially during a La Niña, suggests a warming trend that is accelerating faster than expected. This could significantly impact tree health, regeneration cycles, fire risk, and biodiversity in both managed and natural forests. So that's the story. It's getting warm. Yeah. If you went out.
You can feel it in Denmark right now as well. Quite hot.
Yeah, exactly. So, Benjamin.
Yes.
Yeah. What kind of effects are we already seeing from back-to-back record temperatures on forest ecosystems? And now you're old enough to maybe remember the last couple of years, maybe.
The last couple of years.
Yeah, at least here.
I mean, there's a lot more. Well, the rising temperature will have a lot of effects on the climate in general. It will be drier during the summer and more windy during the winter, and a lot more rainfall during the winter.
Yeah, and what will happen to the forest then?
Well, we see it in Ireland right now. That's a lot of windfall, unstable forests and pests, and the resilience of forest is something that is looked at a lot these days. Monocultures of the same species.
Yeah.
We try to mix species because we don't really know what will happen. So we can't put all our money on one tree species. So it's quite.
Do you have any experience of areas here in Denmark, and I'm especially thinking about the summer in 18, where we had it was very warm and dry for
it was a drought,
maybe 3 months in a row. It was extreme, at least compared to what we normally see.
That is referenced a lot in Denmark. 2018, and everything was difficult in forestry. You couldn't really the trees wouldn't, the planted trees would die, and there was actually fires some places in Denmark as well.
Yeah.
Not natural fires, but it was so dry, so
couldn't light a cigarette.
Yeah,
without
exactly.
To burn the wood.
Yeah. So
forest.
So that's, and you can typically see on the trees actually, if you go back to 2018, they didn't grow at all because there was no water.
Yeah.
So that year is referenced a lot in still today.
Do we see any consequence of that today, other than, for instance, growth?
There is. I'm not quite sure if this is proven to be, but there's a lot of Norway spruce around the forest that have these cracks in them. That a lot of people relate to this.
Okay.
There was no water, so the bark literally cracked.
How about Sitka? Wasn't it also some issues with those?
Yeah, well, Sitka is we call them Sitka lice. We call them in.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the scientific name of them, but they they eat the needles on the Sitka, and they survive if the winter is quite mild.
Yes.
So if it's getting warmer that way, Sitka is also maybe not the best species in the future.
Yeah.
So that's quite a problem some places.
Yeah. So Rasmus, how can satellite data, remote sensing, or climate modeling help forest owners track and respond to these emerging climate signals?
Yeah, I guess first of all, it's of course scary that things change the way they do. That we generally have higher temperatures. We have outliers every year now, which now you can't even call them outliers, because they're not, and the frequency of outliers is more scary for me than the general thing.
Yeah,
because it tells something about how things accelerate.
Yeah,
not the velocity of them, but how they accelerate. And the acceleration is the scary part, because when you work with something that grows for 50 to 100 years, you can say now that, okay, if the trend is this, then maybe I can plant this to kind of take into consideration the 50 years.
Yeah.
But if you don't know how things accelerate, you have no idea to do that. And then what is the best guess, right? Now you are
diverse forest.
Yeah, that would probably, that it's a bit like stocks.
Yeah.
If you don't exactly know what's going on, what's the best thing to do? You just spread the
diversify.
Yeah, you diversify, because that eats all the bumps on the way.
Yeah.
So that knowing very little about forest in general, that seems like a good way to go. But how would that play into the whole that we need a lot of timber, which we have talked about in other episodes? We generally need much more quality timber.
Yeah.
But does that feed well with a very diverse forest? I don't know. And
that's also a thing in Denmark. Norway spruce is really popular. And the sawmills love it.
Yeah.
But a lot of forest managers are not planting it. A lot of are still planting it because it's still quite
but not like back in the day.
No, because it's not a very stable species. We like Douglas fir is quite talked about a lot in Denmark right now, instead of Norway spruce. And like I said, sawmills love Norway spruce because they know it, and we have a lot of it, and that's what they're used to. So that's also a point.
Yeah.
But maybe getting back to your question then is, how can satellite data or modeling and climate modeling and all this help us then? Well, first of all, the climate models, unfortunately, all hit below. So for some reason, they are much more conservative than they should be. So there needs to be looked into that to make them more hit the target.
Yeah.
Because, of course, if you have good models, then you can begin to say something about the future. At least have an educated guess about the future, which then plays into, if I know that this will be the climate for the next 50 years, then maybe I can have a better idea on what to plant and how to diversify. Also to keep in mind all the other things we'd like to hit target on. We need the timber. We also need, for the climate reasons, we need to grow trees that absorb carbon in an efficient way. So that, and if you need educated guesses, you need something that can help you with that, and that's models.
Yeah.
And data from satellites. Satellites can, give you the data to feed into the models, where you also can track, are your models actually, which is also being done right, and that's why we can see that these climate models are not hitting target.
Yeah.
But yeah, the question is, how would it look in 50 years if we don't know this, and then how can I even begin to say what to do?
Yeah. So I think I have a good way to end this. So what would your sort of low key advice be, based on your background and based on your background, for forest owner and managers, compared to what we just discussed. What would that be?
I would say, like, there is also like small things you can do in management. For example, if you thin quite like a lot or hard in the beginning of a stand, it will be more stable.
Mm-hmm.
So like a small thing of maybe thinning a bit harder, especially if it's exposed to wind. So kind of prepare it for more wind in the future.
Yeah.
And
The only reason why you won't do that is that because of the economics of it.
No, it's quite different how people look at it. If you thin, do a hard thinning or whatever you want to call it, there's also the chance that it will become the more branches and knots in the wood and lower the quality but yeah, that's I would say that's my advice. At least I think that would be a good place to start.
Because if you let them be close to each other, the trees, they will grow upwards. And if you begin to remove things around them, they will also grow outwards because they are seeking sunlight in general.
And if they're closer together, they will shadow
each other, and that will force them also to compete. I think it probably also depends a bit on the place you are, because in Denmark it's easy to say, well, let's diversify because that makes sense, but I guess we're not as big an industry. If you go to Sweden, where it's the main industry of the country, it's like, okay, if we said to all farmers, just diversify.
But how much can you diversify in for instance, Sweden?
They are also getting hit by this.
Yeah, but
good question. They have a lot of Norway spruce, a lot of
for a reason, right?
Yeah. Well, it's native there, and it's a bit. I think it is a bit colder up there, so it will take a bit longer time for it to be unsuited for the climate, I think there, but they have problems as well with insects and pests and such.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Come back to you.
Yeah, and my point was just maybe my advice would be this: if we don't really know what's going on, we need to play the cards we have in the future, and that would probably be something like diversify or do what Benjamin says.
Yeah.
And that's somewhat easy to say in Denmark because it's not that big an industry, We have the playroom. Yeah. But if it's a big industry that everything is tuned after, let's say that's Norway spruce, everything is just, then it's much harder to begin to do this. Then it's an entire, value chain that you need to probably think into it. But again, you don't have the luxury of not doing anything, because if in the end, in 50 years, you can't even grow Norway spruce in Sweden, then they have driven the train into the wall.
So your low-key practical tech advice would be buy a forest management program.
Begin to think about flexibility in your setup. How can we make it more flexible? Not tuning into one, direction. How do we ensure that this train is not going, How do you lay things in front of it that makes us capable of turning left or right?
Yeah. Okay.
Which culture is it that does rain dance to know?
Rain dance or ring dance?
Rain to know. Bring forth the rain.
It's at least in Africa. That's also in the Native Americas, because down in the southwest you only get.
Also the Democrats.
Yeah, they also
control the weather.
But I can remember that from the Mojave Desert that you only get rain once a year, and that's also why I think they developed the rain dance, because it was okay. Now it's coming. See, it works because it's only once a year, so you're not.
We should start doing that. Growing during the growth season.
Yeah.
Last year it was really there was a lot of rain during the growth season, and you can see that. So we need to start dancing.
Do the dance.
That's my other advice.
Yeah.
Actually, Rasmus, he loves dancing.
Yes. I'm very keen on it. I'm not good at it.
And I haven't seen rain coming when you do it.
Maybe the spilling of,
Also, do you also dance when you're sober?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay.
I don't know if
I haven't seen that.
but it's also I never start a place, you know. So I don't know if it's ever actually happened. I wouldn't have a problem with it. I'm pretty sure.
So in 30 minutes, we are going to the canteen to have lunch.
And I dance, but I
We'll
need someone
just,
to dance with. I never dance by myself. It's not like I do hip hop or something. It's with a lady.
With a lady.
Oh man, I could probably dance with a man. I'm not.
Yeah, you probably can. Okay. Let's carry on.
Yeah.
So the next story, it's about Australia. So Australia's forest management standard to align with EUDR.
Nice.
Yeah. So Australia is preparing to align its forest certification standard with Europe's deforestation regulation. Responsible Wood, the national governing body of PEFC International in Australia, has begun the 26th review of its flagship forest management standard. And pay attention to this. AS-NZS 4708. I'll quiz you on this later on. No, I won't. With a strong focus on aligning it with the EU deforestation regulation, EUDR, and new international frameworks. So some key facts. The current review will align the standard with the PEFC ST 1003 2024.
The current one, probably.
Yeah, benchmarks and the EUDR. So Responsible Wood is calling for nominations to reference committees and working groups. And stakeholders invited include forest growers, First Nation groups, NGOs, scientists, and local governments. Sounds nice. The standard is seen as central to maintaining market access and global credibility for Australia and New Zealand forest products. Of course, important. So Simon Dorris, CEO of Responsible Wood, says, our standards are globally recognized because they reflect science-based criteria developed through wide consultation. They ensure Australia's forests remain among the most sustainable and responsible managed in the world.
So with all that you're saying, it's actually easy for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a fair conclusion, I think. Do you know anything about how good they are in this in Australia and New Zealand?
I know nothing about the forestry, but
at least tech-wise, we love them.
Yeah.
But I know that, a big part of certification is indigenous people, and that is a big part of Australia.
Yeah.
So, and probably a lot of the indigenous people own forest land.
Yeah.
So maybe it's hard for them to but I like the whole idea of aligning EUDR with certification in general, because there's too many different documents and standards to keep track of.
Exactly. So with the EUDR tightening global trade rules, forest-rich countries like Australia needs to show traceability and compliance across the entire supply chain. Updating this one I talked about earlier is key for ensuring that certified wood can continue entering EU markets, while also reinforcing Australia's commitment to responsible and inclusive forest management. So Matt De Jong, Sustainability Manager of Responsible Wood, says, aligning with PEFC and other international frameworks while remaining national relevant is critical. I think that's a strong statement. This ensures our certification remains credible and effective at all levels, from forest floor to final product. Couldn't agree more, right?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen, brother.
Yeah. So Rasmussen.
Yeah. Hit me.
Hit me, baby. So how can digital tools support traceability and reporting across certified forests to meet evolving global frameworks?
First of all, you can't do it without them, I think. When you raise the level of documentation, you need somehow to also be able to do it. And the world is digital, and that's how we, all transactions now, almost all are digital. So this is fair to say that this also needs to move in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the how should I say, the infrastructure must be there, as you also know from industry, from Danfoss and Nilfisk, is that, you know, sourcing of parts and all that this has been done for decades now.
Yeah.
And you have systems around that to help you, because, and it probably stems a lot also from you know, Toyota, this lean manufacturing idea, that if you can control your entire supply chain effectively, you don't need a large what's it called?
Stock.
Yeah, stock. And you don't have a lot of money packed up in the stock. So there's a lot of at least elements of that infrastructure that must be in place somehow.
Yeah.
And now it needs, of course, this has to not be built from the scratch. We need to learn from all that, because that has been affected for decades now.
30, 40 years.
Yeah. And it's probably pretty good, I will imagine. So how can you really get inspired from that and feed into to this entire with traceability? The thing with traceability is that it's a bit different than sourcing components, because it also actually goes into that. Then that's part of that process. Then, but you of course need to ensure that you cannot cut the link in this whole traceability link throughout the supply chain. And how's that then solved completely? I'm not sure. I think there's been a lot of work, also from FSC to say, let's have a blockchain for that, because then you can.
Do you know
track
what a blockchain is, Benjamin?
I think we actually talked about that in the last episode.
Yeah. Was it in the last episode?
I think so, yeah.
Wow, I'm getting old.
Yeah, me too. Did we?
I can't remember. Okay, so you know.
Yeah, now you know, yeah. No, so the idea there, of course, is to use this newer technology, which we know from cryptocurrency, to kind of facilitate this traceability, because then you can't simply remove information anymore.
Yeah,
the information is there, and you can't wreck the system easily. I don't know if that would ends up being a part of this. I would also say let's try to start as simple as possible to build that chain of traceability. But yeah, if you start at the bottom where all the trees grow, you of course need some way to have that registered, typically through a software tool which gives you the geolocation of it. And then you need a system where you can take that information of the timber or of the trees that you then cut into timber, whereas that place then probably also geo-referenced to the original plot where they were. And how do you then feed that information into the next? And that's part of what EODR already is now, that you need to feed a GeoJSON, which is a geo-referenced JSON file, into their system, so they can say, okay, now we know that the trees here that is moving on to the next step in the value chain, that's from that location.
Yeah.
And that's fairly simply done. So I don't know I don't know enough about the other steps in the value chain, but I guess we dare come in more to this what we know from traditional industry of sourcing components that you must be able to use what have been done there.
Yeah.
So that was a long rant.
Yeah, that's fine. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, well, we also talked about this a bit the last time, but I also feel like the trouble is when it's a big company that has 1,000 different suppliers, and they need to figure all that out. That's when you get high up in the value chain, that's the big problem. But also I don't know how the connectivity is in Australia, but I would assume they also
You need a Starlink.
Yeah.
Actually, we talked about this in an earlier one.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Okay. But again, just come back to what Benjamin says. So what I said was it's easy to say that it comes from here, a geodesic, a polygon or whatever but the thing is that the industry, at least now for many places, works like we take trees from this slot and from this slot, and then we put it into a stack. But do you need to track the single tree out throughout the whole value chain, Okay, then you can't just do that anymore, and then it goes to the sawmill, and
impossible.
Then at least for what we have now, what do you do with other components that you track like that? You give them probably a RFID tag.
Yeah, a small barcode.
Yeah, and then you need to do that on each individual.
Then we need to have the DNA of the tree.
That could be a way of doing it.
Yeah.
Isn't that actually a thing?
The gene pool.
Yeah.
It's each tree. It has to have an individual DNA string.
Mm-hmm. And it's all silence now. Okay, so Benjamin, what kind of challenges and opportunities do you see in aligning national forestry standards with international regulations like EUDR?
Well, first of all, like I mentioned, I think that's how it should be. You know, they should align, so you don't have to keep track of 4 different things.
Yeah.
But we talked with Ben and Peter about
in episode 22, I think.
Can't remember, but
it's a good one.
They've combined pretty much. Or they've made a standard that both PFC and FSC endorse.
Yeah.
So they're quite good at combining different documents. So maybe we should learn from them.
Yeah.
Call them and ask them how do we go about.
Or maybe
this?
Australia should.
Yeah. But I think that's important to draw learnings and experience from people that have done something similar.
Yeah.
But it will be. It is quite a hard process, I think, to do, but a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will succeed.
But can one ask, why do we need two, PFC and FSC? Why the hell?
Yeah, let's not ask that. Maybe we should do a special
on standard. Yeah.
Yeah, they are quite.
Maybe we should do a face-off.
Maybe.
Yeah, we get one guy from PFC and one from FSC, and then
let them battle it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your final say on this one?
Yeah, I hope they will succeed.
Yeah.
And maybe other countries can learn from them.
Yeah.
And do the same.
Yeah. Aim into that. That's exactly what I want to throw at it as well. I hope they succeed. I think it's a good thing. The more we align, the better. It makes everything easier.
Yep.
Yeah. That's your say as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so
just from a technical point of view.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a story about that from how it can go horribly wrong if you don't kind of think about this. And that's a machine from a company we used to work at, where you build something in the US and you build something in Europe, and nuts and bolts aren't the same in those two countries.
Yeah.
So now you have something built in the US mixed, which is now a mix of European stuff and American stuff. So now the American manufacturing, it's called plant, they now need to have double out of everything because they need both the European bolts and the American bolts.
Yeah.
So it can go,
Yeah.
God damn, man.
Yeah, that's not perfect.
No.
Okay, so last one up. We're back in Europe. It's Finland's forests now emit more CO2 than they absorb.
Source.
Huh? Yeah, okay, fair enough. It's actually Innovatech that has it. No, okay. So let me continue. So Finland forest now flipped from climate solution to carbon source. According to new data from the National Resource Institute Finland, and it's called LUK, Finland forest emitted 1.12 million tons of CO2 equivalent in 23, making a dramatic shift from the historical role as a vital carbon sink. So here's some key facts. Forests in Finland have been releasing more CO2 than absorbing since 21. In 23, the entire land use sector, LULUCF, emitted 11.8 million tons CO2 equivalent, more than Finland's agricultural sector. The carbon sink has weakened due to slower tree growth, increasing logging, now removing 90% of forest growth. That's also a lot. Rising soil emission, especially from peatlands and mineral soils. Do you believe it now?
I believed it before, but
yeah.
It sounds,
So while forest growth previously outpaced harvesting, this is no longer the case. The balance has shifted, and so has the emissions.
Didn't you just say that it took 90% of growth?
Yeah.
But then logging has not overturned. Then there's still 10% growth.
That's true.
Yeah. But
maybe it's because it's over years that there's something in there. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how that adds up, but
no, that's also fine. But just it can sound really bad that you take 90% of growth, but actually isn't that what you're supposed to do? Because we need those products for something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting.
yeah, but you're right. But I don't know about soil emission.
That can be that's the thing. I think that's the only thing that can, and
Yeah.
that's not really the forest.
No, but that is a big one.
Yeah.
All in most countries, it can be related to forestry because you sort of try to lower the what's it called, the groundwater levels, and then you expose the peat, and when there's oxygen, and it suddenly starts decomposing.
Yeah.
But also if sorry, Benjamin, go on.
No, I was finished.
Okay, but there's also this LULUCF, which stands for land use change, and forestry. So it includes landscapes like forest, farmland, peatlands. So it's not just forest.
No, there can probably be something in the change of land use where you disturb, because there's a lot of carbon in the ground.
Yeah.
Much more than in the trees.
Yeah.
So So the LULUCF sector in general emits more, not just forestry, or am I understanding that correct?
Let's go to the top again. So in 23, the entire land use sector, LULUCF, emitted 11.8 million tons, more than Finland's agricultural sector.
So it's a bunch of things.
Yeah. Okay, so this development sends a strong signal to all forested nations. Even sustainable forestry models can become unsustainable under stress as temperature rise and harvesting intensifies. Forests may no longer be the climate buffer they once were. This has massive implications for carbon accounting, forest policy, and climate neutral targets. So there's also a bit of the first story.
I'm actually surprised the trees are growing slower.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is.
Maybe that's for you to investigate and then educate us in the next one.
Yeah. Because generally the trees have been growing faster.
Yeah, because of the warmer climate.
Yeah, and
more water
and better selection and better provenances and so on.
Ah, damn! It's the 1st April. It's not the case.
Could be.
Yeah,
it could have been. It seems a little.
That would have been fun.
Yeah, the story also. There's something off in that story because it says this. It's land use. I don't know why there are even two land uses, and then it shifts over to the forest.
Yeah, but
ignoring. And back to, you should cut down 90% of the growth in some way because you need that to use that to, eliminate concrete or whatever, steel.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but that's not really part of what we talk about now.
No, and I understand that.
You're mixing everything up. It's way too complex to talk about. That's the issue.
I'm cutting into the essence of that story. It's
I know.
I'm sitting here with my MAGA hat and saying it's fake news.
Mega hat.
Fake news.
Stop. Let's shut it. This episode needs to stop now.
On that note.
Yeah. No. So let me see some questions for both of you. Or do you have anything to maybe a comment? Of course, we have already been heavily commenting the story.
I'm interested in. I don't know much about Finnish forestry, but other than that, it's huge. And they know a lot about it.
Yeah.
And so it surprises me that it's maybe not as sustainable. I would have thought it was.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit surprised.
But also, what lies in the word sustainable? In
Yeah,
this
that's a
isn't
good
they are just
question,
talking about
but-
carbon sink and carbon. But that, for me at least, that doesn't say.
Let's have the professor talk about what sustainability means. I think that's something that you're educated in school.
Well, what I meant by sustainability is that you don't cut more than the forest grows.
Yeah.
But that is
That's also what stated. Yeah.
Exactly. So maybe it is sustainable, and it's I don't know how much peat and these things that is in Finland, but maybe that's the the thing that's causing the issue.
Yeah.
That they are.
Do you know? Would you typically have that in places where you have a lot of trees?
In lowlands.
Okay, it's like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the case in Finland?
I'm not sure.
They have a lot of lakes, so they should probably low.
Yeah.
Not again. That's just my logic. Nothing I know anything about.
You know, peat is. Yeah, you know what peat is.
Not completely.
Peter.
Well, it is basically formed under when there's a lot of water and leaves and organic material fall to the bottom. There's no oxygen there, so it can't decompose. So it builds up.
Yeah, okay,
over the years.
that makes sense.
So when you remove the water and add oxygen, it decomposes and the CO2
releases all the CO2. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, but have they harvested too much?
If it's 90%, no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Okay, that's a quick answer.
That it's growing more than they are removing.
Yeah.
If they removed 110%, then there's something else.
Yeah. So we talked about soil moisture and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Could you maybe, if you go back to some of the knowledge that we gained leading up to that episode, could you maybe talk about what could be done, from the outside in terms of monitoring, for instance, emission from peatlands or whatever?
Yeah, that's actually it's a perfect illustration of how that probably also affects. And we talked about this. We were able to measure it from space, with the satellites. You of course needed to calibrate the system.
Yeah.
With local measurements, but then the idea that you could actually measure this, and you should probably, like you survey everything else, you need to survey this because this could be an indicator that now this area, this large area where we know that traditionally was lowland with a lot of water, but now the moisture level are decreasing fast. Then we know that the CO2 levels will go up.
Yeah.
Can we do anything to remedy this?
That's actually a good point.
Could we plant something that holds water? Could we go out with the hose? I don't know what you can actually do in practice, but maybe you can do something.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's, the tundra. I don't know if Finland is, but that is one of the big problems in the tundra. It is all frozen.
Yeah.
So when the temperature rises, the tundra will
begin to decompose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's that's where they talk about the tipping point. If that happens,
okay,
there's no turning back.
Yeah, I think that a lot of probably north part of Finland probably has that like tundra. It would make sense because they're very north.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Cool. So 51 minutes. I think we should maybe say that.
Wrap it up.
We are closing to the end now. So maybe Benjamin, could you investigate this
Yes,
further, this story,
of course.
and then educate us the next time?
Yeah.
Cool. But let's wrap it up. And yeah, nice one. Again, nice talking to you.
It was a very well prepared episode. I'm really happy with the work.
Yeah. Well, I can only say you're welcome. Okay. So So take care.
Yeah. Bye.
See you in the next one. Bye.